Charlie Brown is, I think, a little bit like everyone. We all need reassurance that some people really do like us. But I guess Charlie Brown is mostly me. That's why he often has that dumb expression on his face. But, for example, when I've been beaten in a golf tournament or a bridge game, or maybe if I bowled a bad game on a particular night when I feel low, this is when I come home and really pour it on poor old Charlie Brown. This is when he really suffers the most, when I suffer the most.
The speaker, cartoonist Charles Schulz. The subject, his internationally famous comic strip, Peanuts. Tonight we'll explore the fantastic success of the world's greatest failure. In Finland, the name of the comic strip is Tenavat, which means the little folks. But in Sweden, it's called Jotun, which means the giant. In Italy, they've titled it Perino, which means Baby Peter. But in South America, it's called Carlitos, or Little Charles. In Holland, they say Pindra, or the peanut. But in Denmark, where there's no word for peanut, the name is Radisson, which means little radishes. And in over 700 newspapers in the United States, it's called Peanuts, the most talked about comic strip of our time. Each day for millions of people around the world, some universal chord is struck by the strangest group of youngsters this side of the moon. For example, take this Schroeder. At an age when most youngsters are idolizing astronauts, Schroeder idolizes Ludwig von Beethoven. Single-handedly, Schroeder has campaigned for national recognition of his hero, and in some quarters at least, he has succeeded. Although he'll take time to play catcher on the gang baseball team, Schroeder spends most of his waking moments practicing his idol's music, and it takes a lot of practice when you realize that the black keys are painted on. Currently composing his jazz improvisations of Beethoven, Schroeder has absolutely no time for girls, particularly one Lucy Van Pelt. And Lucy, completely ignored by her beloved Schroeder, takes it out on the rest of the group, either by yelling the loudest, or kicking the hardest, or by pretending to know the answers to everything.
So I feel these tensions and all these pressures. So what should I do?
Learn to relax. 5 cents, please.
What? 5 cents for just that?
Is the doctor in?
No, I think she's way out.
Lucy is particularly hard on her younger brother, Linus, whose chief defense against her and the rest of the world is his security blanket. Day and night, wherever Linus goes, the blanket goes, whether he's eating, sleeping, swimming, walking, or playing center field. But even while the blanket is being washed, Linus goes through a traumatic experience, and that goes for the drying out as well. And when his sister Lucy tries to freeze the blanket, or cut it up, or bury it, Linus loses all sense of normal conduct. An even more dangerous threat to the security blanket, however, comes from Charlie Brown's dog, Snoopy, a sort of a beagle Walter Mitty, who dreams of being everything, from a vulture to a great hunter. His daily target is the blanket. Only on rare occasions, as when he gets a rabies shot, does Snoopy react like a dog. And his nighttime performance as a watchdog is also somewhat limited. If threatened by the children, he definitely has friends in high places. But he spends the majority of his time atop his doghouse, contemplating the state of affairs in the world. Throughout the year, through summer, through fall, through winter snow, Snoopy observes the foibles of the world. And the biggest foible of all is Snoopy's master, poor Charlie Brown. If there is a way to fail at anything, Charlie Brown has discovered it. Charlie has lost 10,000 checker games in a row to Lucy. He continually drops the ball or strikes out in the 9th inning of every baseball game. When he attempts to fly a kite, the consequences are disastrous. When he tries to write his pen pal, Charlie's pen leaks. And his playmates are especially hard on him. When the other children swim together, he's told there's no room. On Valentine's Day, he doesn't receive a single Valentine. And his chief antagonist, Lucy, constantly employs one-upmanship on poor Charlie Brown.
This time I promise I won't pull the ball away. Look, we'll shake on it, okay?
As long as she's willing to shake on it, I'll have to trust her.
A woman's handshake is not legally binding.
Why this worldwide fascination for Charlie Brown and friends? Why does the city of South Pasadena choose Linus and Snoopy to emphasize freedom in America? Why does the Italian communist press publicly denounce Lucy as a fascist and demand her removal from Italian newsstands? Why does a woman in North Carolina design an entire winter outfit for Snoopy? Why does this tiny book outsell all other nonfiction in the United States? The book is small, simple, and innocent. Charles Schulz merely recalled what had given him happiness as a youngster. Jumping on a pile of leaves, hiccups after they'd gone away, getting together with friends. Happiness is finally getting the sliver out. Happiness is nightlife. Happiness is being able to reach the doorknob. Happiness is walking in the grass with your bare feet. The success of the book astounds the publishing world. It appears on the nation's bestseller list for both adults and children. Happiness sells more copies than any other hardcover nonfiction book in the United States during 1963. And from all over the world, children of all ages send drawings to Charles Schulz, drawings of their ideas of happiness.
Happiness is clean teeth. Happiness is a bunch of olives.
Happiness is watching a pretty sunset. I think it's watching television when you're supposed to be in bed. Dressing sloppy when you want to. Happiness is when my doggie has 10 puppies like last week and the expression on my daddy's face.
I think it's having all girls in the family and no boys except Daddy. Happiness is when you're a man.
When you don't get any fillings at the dentist. A little sister that doesn't cry at night. Eating a 500-pound marshmallow.
Happiness is learning how to comb your hair. Happiness is when you can take a bath by yourself.
One child's list came without pictures. Happiness for her was a warm summer's day, the feeling of smooth silk, the the smell of an ocean surf, the feeling that Mommy and Daddy really love you. She expressed herself as only she could, in Braille.
Don't say a word. I don't want to hear a word. Even as a failure, you're a flop. If I were you, I'd be afraid of what the kids at school would say about that blanket. Do you have a nickel? Flip it in the air. They don't say very much.
Charles Schultz's day begins at 8:20 each morning when he drives 4 of his 5 children to school. Meredith 14, Monty 12, Craig 11, and Amy 8. On the way, picking up neighbors as well, we ask him how often his ideas come from his own children.
I think I probably get more ideas from watching my own kids than I probably really would like to admit. This whole business with Lucy being a fuss budget, I know came from our first girl, and all of the things with the blanket came from the first 3 kids which we had, because they all had blankets. And then I suppose just watching the little arguments that they go through and this sort of thing has given me quite a few ideas too. So this is the way it goes most of the time. Morning, Kenny. Morning, Mike.
Mr. Shields.
How'd your dad do in bowling last night?
You got 210.
But most of my ideas come from my own childhood experiences. In a way, it's a little bit embarrassing to realize that maybe 40, 50, 60 million people are reading about some of the dumb things which I did when I was little. Basically, I guess Charlie Brown is really me. I'm just about 100% Charlie Brown. Morning, Randy.
Morning, Charlie.
Buddy,
Hi, Mary.
I like to think that the strip is about children everywhere, because I really believe that children, no matter where they live, are basically quite alike. But it's also about the pressures which are on these children, the pressures which they get not only from other kids around them, but also from their parents, and then from school too. Okay, kids, everybody out.
And now the pressures will start to work on Sparky himself. The new ideas that must come today, the new gag, the new storyline, the need for something fresh for 60 million readers.
But the pressure is really always on, because you have to come up with something every day. The daily strip is there 6 times a week, and then there's the Sunday page. In a way, it's a lot like having a term paper to do all of the time. And then I feel a lot of real responsibility, too, because I realize there are people who sort of look forward to reading the strip every day, and I feel that I should give them something good. I hate to let them down. I hate the thought that there might be someone who is really looking forward to reading the strip, and then that I haven't given them anything good that day.
Sparky and his family live on this 28-acre ranch in Sebastopol, about an hour-and-a-half drive north of San Francisco across the Golden Gate. The main house, designed by Mrs. Schultz, is just a few hundred feet from Sparky's studio. And now he's alone, a one-man production team. Writer, humorist, social critic, an artist alone with his thoughts.
No, when you draw a comic strip, if you're going to wait for inspiration, you'll never make it. You have to become professional enough at this so that you can almost deliberately set down an idea at will. Most of the ideas I get merely sitting here at the drawing board, doodling on a piece of white paper, trying out little funny pictures, or starting arguments in my own mind between Charlie Brown and Lucy and Linus or the dog or something. I still enjoy drawing the comic strip as much now
as I did when it first began, and I still would rather sit down and draw a good comic strip than do anything else when I have a good idea. And it's perfectly possible for me to sit here in this room all by myself with an idea which I think is really funny, and to sit here and laugh at it while I'm drawing. And sometimes when I have an idea which is really good, especially for a Sunday page, I work myself up into such a nervous pitch that I can hardly letter the thing. I'm so anxious to get the thing down on paper.
Morning, Sue.
Morning.
Sparky usually takes a mid-morning break to answer Charlie Brown's fan mail. Sparky's only assistant, Sue Broadwell, spends much of her time answering this correspondence from all over the world.
Dear Mr. Schultz, over the years you have been pretty darn mean to my buddy Charlie Brown, and I have always forgiven you. But now I am on the verge of becoming anti-peanuts. If you don't let Charlie Brown have a baseball card of Joe Schlabotnik, I will join the monastery and never purchase another Peanuts book as long as I live. You better tell him to make reservations at the monastery. Okay. This is this one I was telling you about. He says the usual things, and then he says, do you enjoy cartooning as a career, or do you have an outside job?
Oh, no.
That's all I need is an outside job. Here's another one of these about the lunch incident. She says, Dear Charlie Brown, I want to tell you how sad I am that little red-haired girl won't eat lunch with you. I'd be proud to eat lunch with you any day, and I'll even bring the peanut butter sandwiches. Tell her I think that's very nice, and to meet Charlie Brown at noon tomorrow. Okay? How about packages? Any packages come today?
Yes, this one came today for Snoopy.
Good grief.
Remember the comic strip where he stole Charlie Brown's poncho to wear it in the rain?
I remember it. I drew it. Isn't that great? Look at that. Bells and all of that with his name. See, his nose would fit in here like that, and then his stomach would fit in here.
We'll have to go on a diet.
Look at here, boots. Four boots. Isn't that great? What in the world?
Those are his earmuffs.
Oh, boy.
Can't have his ears cold.
Isn't
Don't look
that
like Snoopy.
something? Where's she from? North Carolina?
North Carolina, huh?
Well,
Love letters to Charlie Brown,
thank you. No, maybe
threats
I'll send
to
her-
Lucy, and a winter outfit for Snoopy from a lady in North Carolina. For Charles Schultz, his characters are practically as real and alive as his own children.
There are three characters I enjoy working with the most, and those are Charlie Brown, Linus, and Snoopy. I think Linus is the most fun to work with because he is the most versatile. Linus has a certain innocence about him which makes him easy to work with. I think he's the most appealing character of all. Now and then I do think of what these kids are going to be like as they grow up, and I think that Linus, for instance, will grow out of his problems, and eventually, if we think of him as growing older, will grow up and probably be the most successful person as a person of all of these children. I think Lucy would be the kind who will remain a fuss budget the rest of her life. And I think Charlie Brown will always be a Charlie Brown, because the Charlie Browns just don't change. He has enough of this within him to keep him tied down the rest of his life. I've never dreamed about the characters themselves, but I have thought sometimes, lying awake at night, just who in the world are these characters who have become so important and so real and so much a part of our lives? Just who in the world is Charlie Brown?
Well, for one thing, Charlie is manager and pitcher for the Peanuts Gang baseball team. And the night before each game, Manager Brown has a tough time getting any sleep. And that goes for his teammates as well. Their anxiety is understandable when you realize that under manager Brown, the team has lost 983 straight baseball games. But in all fairness to manager-pitcher Brown, he does lack certain basic support.
I can't stand it.
Charlie's outfielders will miss fly balls for various reasons, either because they're looking for four-leaf clovers or for other important considerations. And the infield chatter leaves much to be desired.
Come on, you blockhead! Pitch it in there! We know you can't pitch, but try! Although it's worthless. It's nice to know your team has confidence in you.
The baseball field itself creates problems, with left field somewhat close to the house and right field a definite hazard.
I hope they tell me when the inning's over.
And pitcher Brown's concentration on the mound is often interrupted by unscheduled group meetings for vital reasons.
You're right, Lucy. The view is pretty from here. Do Sandy Koufax get such interruptions?
And when his team is batting, Charlie's hitters don't quite match a Willie Mays or a Mickey Mantle. Linus, if he does manage to get untangled from his blanket, still runs into other obstacles.
You're out! No manager goes through what I do.
But although he's never won a game, poor Charlie Brown sticks it out to the bitter end, even during thunder showers.
Quitters! Quitters! Quitters!
As he approaches his 1,000th loss in a row, manager Brown, in desperation, sends Charles Schultz to negotiate with the San Francisco Giants. But word of the possible trade leaks to the press, and the thought of playing for Charlie Brown does not appeal to too many Giants.
If I have to play baseball with Charlie Brown, I think I'd quit baseball.
Unable to make a trade, manager Brown has instructed his players to watch the styles of great baseball stars in the hopes that some of it will rub off. And in some cases, it seems to be working. In a mass attempt to be nice to poor old Charlie Brown, the San Francisco Giants hold a Charlie Brown Day at Candlestick Park. And San Francisco fans turn out to pay tribute to poor old Charlie Brown. The weather had been predicted sunny and clear, but over Candlestick Park, as Charlie proudly takes the mound, the weather suddenly and unexplainably shifts, and it begins to rain. Most fans who had come to sing "For He's a Jolly Good Fellow" suddenly have to take cover under the stands or under umbrellas. But the ground crew orders poor Charlie off the mound immediately so that a tarpaulin can protect the mound from the rain. Candlestick suddenly looks like a disaster area. And Charles Schultz, who always wanted to play left field for the Giants, comes as close as he ever will.
Creator of Peanuts, Mr. Charles Schultz.
Thank you very much. Charlie Brown is too overcome by emotion to do any speaking himself, so he has asked me to thank you for all of the nice singing and the nice applause. And he would like to thank just everybody who has taken part in making this a day for all of us losers. The world needs more days for losers. Thank you very much.
Remarkably, as soon as the pre-game ceremonies end, the rain stops, and the entire game that follows is played under beautiful sunny skies. But after the game, when the last fan is long gone, poor old Charlie Brown sneaks back onto the mound, in the hopes that he might still get a cheer. But there will be no cheer. Charlie Brown, however, never gives up. And since he represents so many of us in so many ways, we hope that he never will.